Hi, friends. So, today for social studies, we are learning about a new American symbol, and I have a great book to read to you about the Washington Monument. So, this book is nonfiction, it's true, and it does have a table of contents right there. And then these are all the little subtitles right here, so little different sections of the book. Now, we are for writing today. We will be writing a really good paragraph about what you learned about the Washington Monument. So, as I read, be thinking about what are the three most interesting facts to you that you want to write in your paragraph. The Washington Monument. The Washington Monument is one of the most famous buildings in the United States. It stands tall in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. So, there's a map of the United States, and right there, that star is Washington, D.C. People from all over the world come to see the Washington Monument. It is a symbol that honors George Washington. So that is an interesting fact. A monument for the people. People have been visiting the Washington Monument for more than 100 years. Sometimes large groups of people gather outside of the monument to show how they feel about something. Do you see it right there? And look at the crowds. Look at all the people. Other times, people come to listen to music. Every 4th of July, people watch fireworks at the Washington Monument. They celebrate our country's independence. Oh, I would love to go to that, right? On the 4th of July to see the fireworks all lit up above the Washington Monument. That looks beautiful. Visitors to the monument. The Washington Monument is near the west end of the National Mall. This map shows the Washington Monument. So it's right here. The reflecting pool. So the monument goes straight up right here, and then there's this big reflecting pool right here, and it's called that because it shows the reflection of the monument in the pool. And other memorials on the mall. So here's the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Here's the Lincoln Memorial. Here's the Korean War Veterans Memorial. And here's Franklin Delano Roosevelt Memorial. More than 3,000 visitors tour the Washington Monument each day. Park rangers tell them about the monument and how it was built. The tour is free. So that's an interesting thing about when you go visit Washington, D.C. All of the museums are free because they're for the people. And so I haven't done that trip yet. I really want to do this trip, but everything that you want to go to is free. Outside the monument, the Washington Monument is made of marble. It weighs as much as 15,000 African elephants. That's a cool fact. The Washington Monument looks like a tall, pointed needle. It is as tall as 31 giraffes, one on top of another. People can see it from far away. So if they took 31 giraffes and stacked them on top of each other, that's how tall the Washington Monument is. That's really tall. Inside the monument. Inside the Washington Monument, there are 897 steps, but people ride in the elevator to get to the windows near the top. From there, they can see all around Washington, D.C., so you can see the view from the top. Memorial stones line the stairway of the Washington Monument. All 193 stones honor George Washington. One stone honors the stonemasons who first worked on the monument. So they have all these special stones along the way when you're walking up that honor George Washington. And here it talks about George Washington. People built the Washington Monument to remember George Washington. He was a great leader during the Revolutionary War, and later he became the first president of the United States. At first, people wanted a statue of George Washington, but plans changed and work began on the Washington Monument that we know today. Remember the other book that we read about his life? He loves animals, right? He loves horses. An idea is born. Washington, D.C. was still a young city in 1833. A group of people formed the Washington National Monument Society. It was a kind of a club that raised money to build the monument. And this is what it looked like back then, right? You can see there is no Washington Monument. Later, the society held a contest to find a designer for the monument. They chose Robert Mills. He drew a round building with statues, and in the center there was a tall pointed obelisk. So here's the round building. This is his drawing, and then there's the tall pointed part of the building. Work begins. The United States government gave some land for the Washington Monument and the park. On July 4th, 1848, almost 2,000 people came to watch as the cornerstone was put in place. So it's like the first stone that they put. So it's a ceremony, right? That they're honoring the building. For the next 5 years, stonemasons laid stone after stone. They made the obelisk taller. Soon the monument stood as tall as a 15-story building. So imagine that. They laid it brick by brick, right? Work stops. There was an argument about who would be in charge of the Washington Monument project. And then the designer, Robert Mills, died. More and more people lost interest in the monument. So see, it's not finished, right? It's not finished. In 1861, the United States entered into the Civil War. Everyone was too busy with the war to think about the monument. And for 25 years, work on the monument stopped. It stayed just like that, unfinished. New life for the monument. After the Civil War, the United States government put a new group of people in charge of the Washington Monument project. Some of them wanted the monument to have a whole new look. And finally, everyone decided that the monument should just be an obelisk. The old foundation was made stronger so that it could hold up the heavy obelisk. So they decided not to do that round building, just to make the pointy building going up. Work begins again. In the past, workers had used ropes and pulleys to lift the heavy stones. This time, they built an elevator inside of the monument, and it could do the heavy work, right? That was a good idea. So this is a pulley system where they had to tie each marble stone, right? And then they pulled, and the rope went around here, so it was easier to pull it up, but still very hard. So an elevator is a good idea. They also placed a safety net outside of the monument to catch the workers if they fell. And it worked. The net saved lives while the monument was built. A finishing touch. The builders worried that the Washington Monument might be struck by lightning. When they put the capstone on it, they put an aluminum pyramid on top, so that wouldn't attract the lightning. On February 22nd, 1885, there was a ceremony to celebrate the end of the work. President Chester A. Arthur made a speech. It would be 3 more years before the Washington Monument was made open to the public. As good as new. Over the years, the Washington Monument aged. Weather and visitors damaged the outside and the inside. United States businesses and the government joined together to fix the monument. From 1996 to 2000, workers fixed cracks and chips in the stone, and they cleaned the inside walls. Today, the monument is a safe place for all visitors. And here's the fact file. So sometimes we get good, interesting facts from this section. Today, more than 1 million people ride the elevator each year to tour the Washington Monument. Altogether, it took more than 100 years and $120 million to complete the Washington Monument. Ooh, I might write that. In 1848, a time capsule was placed in the cornerstone of the Washington Monument. It contained American coins, more than 50 newspapers, and information on the United States, Washington, D.C., and George Washington's family. So that's kind of interesting. They put this little time capsule in the rock, right? And so if somebody in the future finds it, they'll know what life was like back then. In 1884, aluminum was a rare and expensive metal. The aluminum pyramid that was put on top of the capstone cost $225. That was almost as much money as a worker earned in a whole year. Before 1958, there were metal bars covering the windows at the top of the monument. The bars were replaced with safety glass to keep people from throwing things out of the windows, right? Because when you're up so high, you shouldn't throw something from so high because it could hit somebody down on the bottom. Here's the glossary in the back of the book. Here's the index. So if you wanted information about a certain thing, you could find what page and more books to read. So I hope you liked learning about the Washington Monument. We will write about it a little bit later today. Bye for now. Keep reading.